Hey Shams, welcome back to the lightsOFF podcast. It's been a minute, but pretty excited to have the first podcast of 2021 with the one and only Eloise Blackwell. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and have a chat with me.
Oh, no worries. Always time when we're in a lockdown, eh?
I reckon the joys of being in the 09. Fun times. For those who might not know who you are, do you want to just give them a bit of background of who you are, maybe where you grew up, just to kind of set the atmosphere?
Yeah, Eloise Blackwell. I'm originally from Great Barrier Island, which is a little island out in the Hauraki Gulf. Population of probably about 800 to 900 on a good day. Come summertime, it almost triples. Grew up there, left the island when I was 13 to go to high school, and now currently living in Auckland, where I play rugby for Ponsonby, Auckland, and the Black Ferns, and I'm also a health and PE teacher at Epsom Girls Grammar School here in Auckland.
Awesome. Wow. Look at that. With the bit, obviously growing up over in Great Barrier Island, like what was that like, growing up in a small town and then making a move to like big city?
It was a pretty ideal lifestyle, I guess, for me, and that's where my love for the outdoors grew. Where we live, it's right on the beach, so I've been brought up in the water, fishing, surfing, diving, but also spent a lot of time in the bush through hunting with my dad and my brothers. So it's not the usual lifestyle, and I guess that's what I credit so much to the person I am now. I love going back home whenever I get the chance, and it really is off the grid living. You can't just go and turn a light switch on. There's no like main source power like there is in Auckland here or around the country. You've actually got to have generators and like solar panels and windmills to get your power if you want power. Otherwise, you're going to have a pretty dark night. But yeah, it's an awesome place to grow up, and yeah, I love it. Anytime I get to go back there, it's always good to go home and see the whānau.
With your family, is your family mainly still back in Great Barrier Island, or your family still here in Auckland?
Yeah, most of them are still out on the island. Grandparents on my dad's side, my granddad on my mum's side, a few aunties, and both my brothers, mum and dad, are still living on the whānau land with my two little nephews. So a lot of them are still out there, but I also have a lot of whānau here in Auckland, so it's quite good to have some out there and some here too if I need to connect up and see some familiar faces.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like obviously you play footy, and does it run in the family?
Probably not so much rugby. Mum's a bit of a sportswoman herself, but she's played netball, but her sports of late is golf. She's a pretty good golfer, and
Nice.
I haven't really picked up that gene. But in terms of dad, no, he's a bushman. He spent most of his life living off the land and fishing and hunting and doing fences and lawn mowing and stuff. So probably not the sporting ability from him, but maybe some of the characteristics that I have that I show through my sports. I probably got off both of them actually. My middle brother, he played a bit of rugby through high school, but I think he just played for the fights. But yeah, like I got cousins that have all played netball and that, but yeah, I'm probably the only one that's gone down the rugby route.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And like obviously when you're starting out in sport in footy, did you start at school, or how did your like rugby start off?
Yeah, so I started on the island, and it was a bit of a random kind of setup. All the kids from the area would meet at the local sports club every Saturday, and we would pretty much just chuck on the old men's jerseys, and they'd be down halfway down your legs, and there were kids from, I was probably 4 when I first started that, so kids from my age right up into their mid-teens, and we'd just jump into two kind of age groups, and we would just play rugby and league for about 3 or 4 hours on that Saturday. And it was coached by some of the local dads, and really unstructured stuff, no boots, you know, kind of like a free-for-all, but that's probably where my love for the sport really grew, just chucking the ball around, smashing people, you know, just kind of having no structure and no one to kind of tell you what you need to be doing in a particular area of the field. So yeah, that's probably where the love grew.
Yeah, no, for sure. That kind of freestyle, that's like Kiwi footy, just playing off to the front.
Chips and
Obviously, when you
faces.
hit into like high school and that, did you play at high school, or what high school did you go to?
So I've been to 2 high schools. So from year 9 to year 11, I was down in Whitianga going to Mercury Bay Area School, and I played rugby there. I did surf life saving, netball, basketball, but athletics. I thought I was a good old javelin thrower for a wee while. Did a bit of soccer. So I pretty much played everything down in Whiti, and then I got the opportunity to go overseas to Canada when I was 16. So from year 12 to year 13, I spent my last 2 years of high school in Canada playing. I went originally on a rugby scholarship and then ended up getting the school's sporting scholarship for hockey, basketball, and rugby. So
Sick. Like going over to Canada would have like been like, what the heck? This is surreal.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, I went at 16, but when I'd come home after 7th form, my mum said to me, because she'd just watched that movie Taken, where those girls go overseas to Europe and get kidnapped, and she was like, "Man, if I saw that movie before you went, you would never have been able to go." I was like, "Thank you." Nah, but it was a completely different lifestyle. The school I went to was a pretty prestigious boarding school, and obviously without the scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to attend, but it was, if I could kind of describe it, it would be like the modern day Harry Potter. There was like, we had to go to chapel. There were these big old buildings out on this campus that, you know, you had to walk for 5 minutes to get from class to class. And, you know, we wore blazers and kilts and knee-high socks.
No
And
way.
it was something out of the books. And it really was a special place and a really special community to be involved in.
Yeah. And then obviously you want to come back home, and when did you like first start like playing club, and was Ponsonby your first club?
Yeah, so I'd come back from Canada, and I had applied to a couple of unis, and I was tossing up between Auckland Uni and Waikato Uni, and I didn't really, like, prior to that, I didn't really think that I could go very far in rugby, and it wasn't until I got back and I got to play in my Mercury Bay Area School club team to finish off the year, and I made a trial for the Northern Regions team, and that's kind of when I realised that, you know, rugby could be a potential pathway for me, or that I was pretty good at it. And I remember making this team, the Northern Regions team, and the girls in there that, you know, have been with me along my journey now is like TK and Adi, and Hazel was around as well. So there were some really good girls that were all involved in that team. And the coach was Shorty Baker, and she at the time was involved with Ponsonby. And I remember over the summer I was back home on the barrier, and I was still tossing up between Waikato and Uni and Waikato and Auckland. And Shorty gave me a call, and she said, you know, if you're serious about rugby and you want to go further, then you need to come to Auckland to play. And she said, there's 2 clubs you can play for. You can go and play for Waitemata, because my nana lived out west, or you can come to Ponsonby, where, you know, there's heaps of black ferns, there's some good coaches, you know, it's a really good club. So yeah, I settled on Ponsonby, and I remember turning up to the first training, and I was pretty scared. I was 18. I'd come from this little place up to the big smoke, rolling up at Western Springs, and there's, you know, cars everywhere, people everywhere. And TK pulled up next to me, and she gets out of her car, and she's like, "Oh, it's you." You know, we hadn't really talked since playing in that Northern Regions team together. And like straight away, I felt welcome and I felt at home. And you know, that's kind of where my club journey started with the Phillies. And you know, I love that team so much. And you know, the girls, it really is a special team.
Yeah, for sure. And like with that club, so you've been with them ever since?
So I was with the Phillies from 2009 up until a couple of years ago, maybe 2018, and then I took a wee hiatus and I moved to Eden, and I played at Eden for a couple of years, and then I came back to Ponsonby last year when we won the championship.
That's cool.
Yeah, finally.
And with the Phillies, like, so you would pretty much call that your home club, I'd assume, with how many years you've been there. What makes you like stay with the club, like stay loyal to the club?
I'm probably not so much loyal to the club. I'm more loyal to the girls. You know, those ones that have been there from the start. You know, the likes of Bindi and Dora, TK at the time before she went up north. Leash, even she was involved with Ponsonby for a long time. I think that core group of girls is what makes that team so special, and you know, huge contributors to the club. I still don't think it's recognised as much, but you know, those girls, they would die for that team and die for the club, and that just makes you want to come back and want to keep coming back. And like at the time when I left to go to Eden, like it was a good break for me, but my heart was always with the Phillies. And you know, after matches on Saturday, I'd always have my after match at Eden, but then I'd see what the girls are up to, because some of those girls are my best friends. So
Yeah.
you know, it was always in my heart, but I'd never left technically.
Yeah. And when you like started at the club, like compared to now, like how much has the comp changed? The like club footy for women's changed, or in Auckland specifically?
Yeah, I think it's changed hugely. I remember my first year, Ponsonby, or the Phillies, had actually been relegated down to the second div. So at the time there was 2 divisions, and there was probably about 12 different women's teams, ranging from you know, over on the shore all the way out to Pookie. So there was a lot of teams involved. There were 2 divisions, and we were in the second div. And I remember the moment that we got relegated down, and Bindi was in the changing room, and she was crying, and all the old girls were crying, and I didn't kind of realize how big the situation was, because you know, that's how much the team meant to them at the time that we had, you know, lost a few games and been dropped down. But yeah, it's changed hugely now. I guess there's less teams involved, but the quality of rugby that is on display from the main clubs, it's pretty top notch. And even the, you know, those fringe 15s teams that are coming into the play, there's a lot of good talent amongst. But yeah, I guess it has changed a lot.
Yeah. And with like Phillies is one club, other clubs do it as well quite well. Linking up with like local schools to try and get like some of the younger ones to come through. Like with you working, is it at Epsom at the moment? Yeah. So is Epsom, would Eden be then the closest in terms of feeding to that club, or you still get some girls to come to like Phillies?
Yeah, so when I first got my job at Epsom Girls, Emma Jensen was my HOD,
yeah,
and she told me that she'd put into my contract that I couldn't poach any of the schoolgirls to come and play for Phillies. They had to go to Rifles, and I know it wasn't until she actually left that we started getting girls coming across to Phillies. But I try not to force my schoolgirls into any particular team. I kind of just suggest what their best options would be, and I guess what's close to home for them. But for us at Eggs, there's Grammar Tech, they've got a team. Obviously Rifles, all the girls live around that area. But currently we do have probably three of my schoolgirls members that are coming across to Phillies training. So yeah, there's a lot of teams that these schoolgirls can get into, which is, it's awesome for them to see that pathway. And obviously grassroots and club is where it starts. So the more girls we can get and connect with from the schools, the better off the club scene's going to look.
Yeah, for sure. And so are you coaching at high school as well? So you'll be coaching like girls school rugby as well?
Yeah, so I coach we played tennis side last year, so I'm coaching them, and Cobes helps me out with the backs, because obviously nice. I like to think I can play first 5 and kick.
Hey, I thought you were first 5.
Yeah, no. my backup position.
Yeah.
It's not really my area of expertise. So yeah, I've been coaching at that school since I started, originally with EJ, and yeah, I love that side of my job as well. You get to see the kids in a different kind of light, and just seeing the growth, through perfecting a skill or perfecting a strength that they have. Like I really enjoy seeing that happen, and just seeing girls come out of their shell, getting confident, not being able to tackle, and then, they're smashing people on the field. So it's awesome to see, and like the growth of our game in our school has grown hugely, and it has been a work in progress. And finally we've got real interest. We've got kids that are wanting to come to school because they know there's a rugby program, they know there's a good team. So yeah, I love that side of my job. Keeps me bloody busy though.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, like with having to juggle that and then obviously club footy, like not even tapping into your root footy, like how do you handle that? Like being able to literally like carry a job plus all the extra stuff and then try and do what you want as well, like play footy.
Yeah, let's just say I go through a lot of energy drinks and pre-workout just to just to keep my energy high. Like I always have arguments with my mates because they don't think that school teaching is hard, but it's like a different kind of a job. Mentally it's quite tough because you got to be switched on, you got to be helping these kids learn, but then you don't really have time to switch off mentally until I get home and actually lay down in my bed. So it's been a juggling act probably since I started playing club and working full time, as well as trying to juggle all my rep stuff. But yeah, I guess I just find a way, balance it out and make it work as best I can.
Yeah, for sure. I think you touched on before, sometimes you like to go home to Great Barrier. Is that like for you, is there like a reset button when things like you just need to kind of chill out?
Yeah, definitely. Like any opportunity that I get, I'm on the plane and I'm out there, even if it's for a couple of days. Definitely for a reset, just to be on the edge of the water, or even in the water, in the bush. I've really got to disconnect from my busy life in Auckland to reconnect in a way. And I may be busier out there because I'm just nonstop hunting and fishing and catching up with my whānau and eating and stuff, but I always feel better when I come back to Auckland, and as I get out of the plane, I'm like, man, I just want to go back again.
Yeah,
because it's so good for the soul just to be out there, and I love taking all my mates back there who have never been to places like that before. It's always cool to see them in a different light and have some laughs for sure at them trying to navigate a farm or out in the bush.
Yeah. No, that's so cool because obviously everyone has a way to reset. Some people like being out in nature, or I don't know, reading a book or things like that. So outside of footy, is there much that you do like more as a hobby? Not so much the coaching and stuff, but is there something that you like to do for yourself?
Yeah, it'd probably definitely be the fishing and the hunting and perfecting my eating game.
Nice.
When I get home, yeah, I'm literally straight off the plane. I've already told my brother what the plan for the weekend is, and we're straight out on the water. And yeah, it definitely is my happy place. I love fishing. I love the fact of like not knowing what you're going to catch, and then you catch this real big fish, and then you get to release it. Like I love that side of the fishing. I love getting in the bush and just watching the dogs work. It's animals are really special things with the animals that we use. They're our family dogs first, but just watching them know their job as pig hunters, and knowing that they're trying to do all they can to help provide for the family. So I love watching them work, and then the thrill of running through the bush and then chasing the bark and then seeing what you caught. Like it's pretty crazy and exhilarating, and yeah, that absolutely love those sorts of things.
No, that's cool. And it's cool that you got that like that happy place that you can go to just chill out. And also there's nothing like being around family too. So it's cool. It's like just a plane ride away, so it's still close to home for you.
Yeah, pretty expensive wee plane ride, but make it happen.
How long is the plane ride?
Oh, it's about 30 minutes, but the price you pay is what you'd pay to fly to like Australia.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's worth it though.
Oh, it so is. And
Yeah.
you know, I never think too much about that, because it's another opportunity to see my whānau. So
Yeah. Epic. No, that's cool. Obviously coming out of club, if you can probably remember, you probably can, but how did you feel when you first made Auckland Storm? When was that kind of like a goal to kind of achieve? Because I know you mentioned before you didn't really think that there was kind of a pathway for you, and then when did it click that was like, oh shucks, I can actually try and make this Auckland Storm team?
yeah, I didn't actually know too much about, I guess, the Storm team, and it was my first year in club playing that I got invited to a couple of trial days where they just did skills. And hey, Mauri, oh, my dog's just come out to say
Nice.
hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so it wasn't probably until I got invited to those couple of training days where I kind of knew about the team. And when I got there, I saw the other locks, and at the time it was Vicky Hayway, Vita Dryden, all like the current Blackfern locks.
Yeah.
Kalani Matapoa, who
Oh wow.
Who I'd all those old girls. I'd played Auckland Māoris with her, so I knew her, and so there were some quality players back then. So I just felt lucky to even be invited to that sort of thing. And then I got a call to say that I'd made the squad in 2009, and I had no real expectations of making the team to play every week, because I knew who was in front of me, and I was just happy to be in that environment, be around legends of the game, and learn as much as I could. But it was tough in those days. Those old girls didn't really help you out, kind of like what it is now. At the time, it felt like everyone for themselves, but in saying that, I was young and shy, and I probably didn't put myself out there as much as I could have. But so I pretty much sat on the bench, or I was DD for the whole Storm season, really. And I got my opportunity to debut against Manawatu. Have any idea what I was doing? I missed my first line out. Yeah, it was it was a pretty out of it day, but yeah, I was happy I got to experience that. And then I guess my journey in the Storm just continued from then. In 2010, the girls went off to the World Cup, so that was kind of our opportunity to get some game time and get on the field. And that's where Leisha and I became so close, because we sat on the bench together through those years. And we've been locking and propping together since 2009, so that's a pretty special rugby bond. But yeah, like I love the Storm, pretty much as I love the Phillies. I love grassroots, and there is something really special about your club team and your provincial team, that you rep it hard. And yeah, I couldn't see myself playing for any other province.
Nice. I like how you emphasize that. When you were playing it at the Storm, what, like, as at that time, obviously you were saying would you say there was like a switch in terms of team culture, from when you first started and then to what it is now? Would you say, what do you reckon changed in that?
It's probably quite hard to pinpoint. Like back in the day, it was pretty cutthroat. You either committed and played for the Storm, that was your only representative sport, or you didn't come back to next training. Like I remember us having a team meeting down at College Rifles, and some of our girls at the time were playing league, so they would like want to miss a Storm training, go to league training. And our coaches at the time was Davida White and Daryl Suasaw, and not to mess with them. And we had girls not turn back up to training, or we had girls pull out of their league teams. So I guess what I liked about that was that it was kind of all in, and everyone was on board, and everyone was striving for that main goal. And that's how you build a culture, is you want to fight for each other, you want to put your body on the line. And I guess at the time it was like, well, how can we kind of trust people who have got half a foot in, half the foot out? So that's kind of one of the big takeouts from back then. And, you know, training started at 6:30, but everyone was there before 6 doing work-ons, getting their top-up fitness sessions in. And, you know, it was treated like a high-performance environment, yet it was only amateur. And that's something that, you know, we still try and push through to this day into that Storm environment, because, you know, in any jersey, really, nothing is given, and it's not your jersey to keep. You're always, I guess, a guardian of that jersey, regardless of what stripe it has on it or what color it has. And it's been a learning curve throughout the years, just trying to keep those old values still growing and still developing into the new Storm squad, because, you know, generations are changing. People are different nowadays. And it's been a bit harder to try and instill those values. But you know, it's a work in progress, and
yeah, for sure,
we've got most people on board, so that's good.
With like how you said, like sometimes you guys would come early, like before 6:30, and you guys would like do your work-ons and that. Is there something like the coaches like advice, or is there something you guys came up as like a playing group to kind of build that culture?
I don't actually remember the coaches probably saying it to us. I think it was probably driven by the girls at the time, and, you know, some of those girls are the legends of our sport, and they really drove that side of, I guess, that side of the culture, that hard work ethic. You know, you'd finish work, but, you know, it doesn't matter that you've come from work or you've come from whatever you have, you still turn up and you still front up for your team, and you're holding yourself accountable. So I would probably say it was those old girls that drove it. You know, the likes of Bindi, got Jay Levere, even his sis Vance, you know, Vicky. There was some awesome players in the team back then, and it's crazy to think back and even say like that you got to train on the same field as them, or you got to take the field with them. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I remember when I went to Rifles, and I went over with Lisa Campbell, and
Yes.
we were like training there. I knew there were some black ferns there, but I didn't know exactly which ones. And then we went to go split backs and forwards, and then Anna Richards was like first 5. And at the time, I had just come from playing first 5. I was like, what the heck? I'm like standing next to this black fern, and here we are, like, oh my gosh, I'm like starstruck. But we can't like act like that. We have to act normal. Like, it's so crazy. Like, but when you get to know them, like, I think that's right across most of the black ferns that I've met or come across. They're so down to earth. Like, you could probably rub shoulders with one, and you might not even know who they are until after. And like, what? Because they're so just real, like they're just themselves, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I guess like you do think of those oldies, and they are definitely the epitome of like humility, and, you know, they're not there to boast about their accolades, although, you know, their accolades outweigh many of their men counterparts. But that's just what makes, you know, the Storm and the Black Ferns so special, is that the girls aren't boasting about all their achievements. They just, you know, they turn up day in, day out, you know, grinding away, fronting up for their team, for their, you know, for themselves and for their province, for their country. It's crazy. That's how humble they are.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned before, like, you and Leish were like bench buddies for a while. Like, because this happens a lot in any sport, really, not just in rugby, but like a player could literally be sitting on the bench for so long, and some stick it out and like, oh yeah, I'll stick it out and try and push to the starting, and then others just like, nah, I guess I'm not good enough. Like, what made you stay even though you might have not been getting as much game time? Like, what kept you going to stay in that spot?
I guess it's kind of just the type of person I am. Like, I'm pretty resilient, and I don't like giving up on things if I've committed to it 100%. And, you know, like, it is really a test of your character. And personally, you know, if I'm gonna, you know, turn up for one game, I don't get named, and then turn up for the next game, I don't get named again, I'm not gonna drop my lip and not turn up for the team, because, what does that kind of say about me as a person, that I run and give up when times get tough? Now, I think it really is a test of character to see how strong you are. And sometimes you learn the most, being a fly on the wall, just absorbing and listening and just seeing how things go. And I think definitely learned so much just, watching what the players do, listening. So there's so much that can be learned. You can't take it as a lost opportunity. You're always going to learn something sitting there.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's cool. And then obviously after provincial, it moved into representing your country, which is kind of a fresh topic at the moment. Obviously, for those who haven't seen social media around the World Cup. But for you, probably we'll touch on that, seeing as it's so fresh. Like, with that coming up, I think it was only yesterday I saw it on social media, like there would have been mixed emotions for all of you guys, but for yourself, like, how did that feel when you heard the announcement? And maybe just give a bit of context for those who are not sure about the World Cup or are unaware about it.
Yeah, so yesterday World Rugby did a release to say that they are recommending that the Rugby World Cup that's supposed to happen this year in September be postponed until next year at some stage. We still don't know. It come as a pretty massive shock. Leash and I had just finished. We got up early, just finished our running block, because Leash had to go to work because she's an essential worker, of course. And we'd literally just finished, and we were walking home, and we get an email from our team management to say, this is the media release. World Rugby has advised that they postpone the World Cup. And then literally, as I said those words to Leash, the Herald article popped up, and I was like, holy, like,
no way,
what is even happening? And I think it just happened so fast that I didn't even have time to process it at the time. Pretty shocked, pretty devastated, I think is the word that I've used yesterday in a couple of interviews that I had. And it is devastating, because you think about all the, especially this summer, a lot of the girls had, put their life on hold just to train hard to come back this year to be in a really good position to be selected. And, everyone always sees the successes, but you never see what goes on behind the scenes. And, for a lot of us oldies, well, this would have been my third World Cup that I would have been to, assuming I had been named in the squad. So, that's a long time to dedicate your life to a sport. And, there's girls that have been in the team longer than me, the likes of Kendra Coxedge and Carla Hohepa, Renee Whitcliffe, that for those girls, it was their fourth World Cup that they were aiming for. And, us oldies, we're getting old now. So the longer things are prolonged and pushed out, it makes it harder for the body to recover. So that's where my mind was at the time, like, oh man, can I get myself through another year to be in contention for a selection? Like, what about these other girls who had, some had maybe considered hanging up the boots? So it was a tough day, definitely for myself, but for everybody else who was involved.
Yeah, legit. And that it's so true what you said. Like, for some it might be, oh, it's just pushed back a year, but there's like all the other trainings and all the other games that you have to do through club and provincial still to get through, just to get in the right shape. So that's almost 2 full seasons almost this year and that. So yeah, I can imagine it was quite hard. Just seeing it across, that was quite cool to see some of the All Blacks share their love as well on social media for you guys. I'm sure you guys would have received quite a few messages yesterday. Yeah,
like it's been pretty overwhelming, the amount of support that people have shown us. And it's pretty special to know that, we do have a lot of people behind us, backing us. It's not just our whānau. So, New Zealand has really reached out and shown their support. And, now I've had time to process, and, there's still probably a lot of processing to go on for me. But at this stage, where my mind is at, it's kind of like nothing's really changed. I'm still going to be working hard to make sure I can be in contention. If it's decided that the World Cup's going to be next year, then, I'm going to do whatever I can to potentially be there.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, despite that announcement, like when you guys got told that NZ was hosting the World Cup, like what was that like? Because this would be the first time it would ever be hosted here. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was pretty cool because up until later date, we haven't really had many test matches at home. So any opportunity we do get where we can play in front of our friends and whānau on home soil is special, and it's going to be even more special to have a World Cup here on home soil. Just knowing that you have them in the crowd watching you. Yeah, like words really can't express what that would mean to myself and the girls. And yeah, I just see what I've seen what other World Cups have been like, and for those countries who are hosting, man, it's awesome to just see their local supporters and behind them, and just see everyone rallying in. And yeah, I really I'm excited to see what the New Zealand fans can bring for us, but to also see how they support the other teams that will be traveling out here.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, when you first got selected for the Black Ferns, can you remember the phone call?
It was 2011, and I can't really remember too much because once he said, like, I got a phone call from Grant Hansen, who was the forwards coach at the time, and pretty much once he said, you've made the team, you're going to be traveling with us to England. We're going to play England twice. I pretty much like did a mind blank because I didn't really know what to think. I probably didn't think I was ready yet at that stage to play international rugby, and it was a massive shock, but obviously extremely excited, extremely privileged to be given that opportunity to pull on the black jersey. And yeah, it was pretty much a dream come true, and something that I had talked about since I was a young kid, actually. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's epic. When you played your first match and you obviously did the haka for the first time, like what kind of emotions what kind of emotions are running through when that happened?
Well, I played my first game at Twickenham in England, which is like that. It's an amazing stadium and an extreme occasion. We'd played after the English team versus the Barbarians, so it was a packed stadium when we ran out for the warm up, and then we come inside, and then we come back out for the anthem, and the stadium's empty.
Oh,
so
no.
I was like, oh no! Like, I was like, man, they're all here to watch us play, and then come back out, and there's everyone to be moved to this one section in the stadium. And no, I just remember, especially in the anthem, I remember looking out into the crowd, and I could just see, there was a few solo Kiwi flags being flown around. I could see Steph Fox, she's ex-Black Fern Steph Fox. She was in the crowd, actually. She'd been playing for the Wasps over there, and I could hear her yelling. So I was like, oh, cool. I didn't know her at the time, but I was like, oh, yeah, there's a supporter for us. And we got through the anthem, and then we got to the haka, and I don't really remember too much of the haka. I probably did all my actions wrong, and yeah, I think it was just like a complete overwhelming kind of sense of emotion, just stepping out onto the field, knowing that you're going to be playing your first international, looking out across at who your opponents were. And those English girls, I thought we were big in New Zealand, but man, those girls were tanks. They were, they're strong, they're fit, they're physical. And I was thinking, holy heck, I'm like a little 82 kg lot. Like I'm only 20. How am I going to compete? Lots of those sorts of emotions running through my mind. And yeah, we lost that game. We lost the second game as well. And for me, like my first couple of years in the black jersey, we'd suffered losses, and that's pretty unheard of for the Black Ferns. We don't lose many games, and especially not to England. So at the time, I was one of like 6 debutantes, and it was hard because a lot of those senior players had left Cup. So, as I said before, I had massive locks ahead of me, and obviously I had to jump into their boots and try and do what they could do, which was, it was pretty hard for me in my first couple of years to find myself within my position and I guess live up to the prestige of the lock position. But I got my first win in the black jersey 2013 here in New Zealand,
Nice.
which was pretty awesome. We won in overtime down at FMG Stadium in Waikato, and little shorty scored in the corner, beating England for us to win the series. And yeah, I probably rate that game with probably one of my most memorable matches for the Black Ferns. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's epic. And obviously fast forward a bit to, I think it was last year, we got named captain. I remember seeing this video go around of you on the national anthem. How was that? There was a little tear when that came up, and that was at Trust Stadium. But what was it more that you had been named captain and the honor of that, of why you shared that emotion, or was it more just the fact of being on home soil, playing with your sisters?
It's probably like a combination of both. Like, I guess when I had been told that I was going to captain for the Baba series, it had happened pretty quick again, so not a lot of time to process. And then obviously we're straight into prep, so I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. We'd just come out of a lockdown, or like there was some restrictions around, so my family weren't able to make it up to Auckland because they had to stay on the island and sort out the cows getting on the cattle truck. And so I was thinking about that, not having them there, standing next to my little mate Kenj, who I've played with, since 2011. So, a long time together, and yeah, being on home soil. So a toss up of all those things.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I remember seeing it, and then whoever did the video that went around, it was pretty cool. Could feel the emotions. It's so good. Obviously this year looks a little bit different with COVID still hanging around. Obviously because we're in lockdown again. But for you, do you guys go straight and still train with club, regardless of whether the World Cup goes ahead this year or not, or how does it work for you this year?
Yeah, so at the moment, I've been going to club trainings. Personally, for me, like club, is probably one of the most important places for me to make sure that I do go to, because it really does, I guess, set the standards for those girls coming through. That I don't want the senior players to be seen as not being present at grassroots, and like giving back at that level is so important to me. So for me, it's really important that I am at club, I am showing face, and with the prospect of the World Cup being next year, it means that now we have more time and more chance to play club. So I'm excited about that, and also it means that we have more chance of playing more FPC. So those are the two positive things that come out of the current COVID situation. But I guess that's probably what I'll set my sights on at the moment, just playing good club rugby, and then hopefully being selected for Storm and having a good FPC season, and then fingers crossed we can sort out some internationals for the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's tricky because obviously this COVID situation makes everything a bit awkward. It's so weird because I remember when we went into this recent lockdown, I was saying to, I think it was my dad, how we went to work on Friday and then you don't go to work on a Monday. Like, it's so weird in that short space of time, like how everything just changes. It's crazy how it affects everything. But obviously for you guys as athletes, and that it would obviously take a big toll as well. Just before we wrap up with lockdown and stuff, when you guys do your trainings, and how's that been for, I guess, for Black Ferns and that, for everyone being kind of segregated at the moment because of lockdown? How does that work?
Yeah, it is quite hard to, especially for us Aucklanders. Well, I could probably just speak personally on that. Is, you know, you see on social, all your mates around the country are still able to train together and in their high performance groups, and you know it's hard because you wanna be back with your, you know, the Auckland crew training and putting in that hard work together, but you know you can't, and obviously because of the restrictions, it's, you know, it is what it is. But I've got a pretty good setup here at home, and I'm lucky that I live with Leash, who she's pretty much on the same schedule as me. So, you know, we're able to train together, so we're doing okay. And but you know, not everyone has the luxury of us. So, you know, for some people it is hard, but I guess, you know, like I said before, it is a test of your character and how hard you want to work for your team to make sure you're in a good position to, you know, put your hand up and be accountable. So, you know, we do what we can do, but your lockdown is hard, especially if you're trying to keep up with your training. But you know, where there's a will, there's a way, and you make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. Well, sis, thank you so much for your time today. Obviously, we touched on quite a bit, and it was awesome hearing your journey. Obviously, the purpose of this is to sit down and have a chat with mainly female athletes to see, you know, how their journey went, and the hope that it would inspire some of the young ones coming through. Just before we obviously wrap up, is there any advice you'd give to not just girls coming through, but even just young ones who are keen to give footy a crack? What's something that some advice you'd give them that you probably wish that you had when you were their age?
I guess probably a piece of advice that my mum always gave to me when I was younger is that you just gotta, you know, be brave and take risks. And you know, you can apply that not just to your sports, but everything that you do. Like, you know, I was always quite shy growing up, so I guess that's probably why she said it to me. You know, but if you always hide away and stay in your bubble, then you're never really going to know what you're capable of achieving. So, you know, if you put yourself out there, try something new, be brave, and you know, step outside the box, and you know, who knows what you can achieve and you know, overcome. So yeah, that'd probably be it.
That's it. Thanks heaps, sis. And for everyone watching today, thank you for having listened to our little chat about the sister's journey to get to where she is. Obviously, all the best this year with whatever happens with World Cup, whether it's here or next year, and obviously with your club footy as well, and obviously school. Busy.
Yeah, it's gonna be busy.
If you haven't already, guys, make sure you subscribe, and we'll hopefully pump out another episode next week. But yeah, till next time, take care, stay safe, stay home. Cheers.